Welcome back to Project 23. My name is T-Bone, and I am part of the Drew Peacock server. You can find me there as the admin under the name of Lord Death, and this is my newest design. And this is for a new style of fuel injection system. Now, I believe I grabbed the wrong image, which is my bad. This is the right image coming up. There we go. Let's just zoom out. And so as you can see, it's very simple. And we'll start off with this. This is a fuel injection system that uses the distributor to fire the injectors based for its timing. And the only thing the injectors do is open and close. They do nothing else. They don't open long. They don't open short. They open at a fixed rate. And that depends on how long the leads are on the distributor cap. Now, we can get to right here. The way this is going to work is we have our battery source. We have power, which goes up to a variable resistor, which is connected to our throttle. You know, our pedal. Now we're going to move up. We're going to have our closed loop on the left and our open loop on the right. And so what happens is this will allow a significant amount more fuel into the engine to allow for a rich start. You know, so if it's cold out, you'll flip a switch and you'll run a cold start. And so it goes up to the fuel pump, and the fuel pump is what actually controls how fast your engine goes, how much throttle you're giving it, basically. And so along with the regular throttle plate on the carburetor or throttle body, your throttle only controls your fuel pump. It gives it more or less fuel pressure, starting out at about 3 pounds of pressure, and depending on the pump and the engine can get up to 75 pounds. And so once your engine is warmed up, you'll then flip it over to closed loop, which is going to be your normal mix. Now, the reason why this one is also a variable resistor is depending on your altitude, you might need to increase or decrease the fuel mix. As, you know, maybe you go super high up. You need to lean the fuel mix out because air is thinner up there. So you give the fuel pump a little bit less power, it leaves the throttle plate the same. Now say you go back down to sea level, you need to increase the amount of fuel going back in to about 14.5, 14.3 for the air-fuel ratio. And that is ideal. And so the whole point of this injection system is to be an exceptionally cheap alternative to, you know, standard fuel injection, but also carburation. As you can tell, this is a very simple design. Now, I could not, for the life of me, find a distributor for my dealio, so I used a diode, and my, I forget what the DZ stands for, but voltage, those represent the leads on the distributor. So basically it spins around, it goes in the order, you know, I forget where I start, but 153 264 is the firing order, and you know, it spins around, it fires the injectors, you know, at the rate the engine is going, so that you're never firing it too slow, you're never firing it too late. It's always fixed, and should be fixed at about, you know, 5 to 15 degrees before the valve starts opening. That would be the ideal event for the intake valve, and that will give you the best timing on average, as because the valve is starting to open. Your fuel mix is getting sucked right in at the exact moment it needs to, and only the amount necessary based on throttle position and that throttle mix right here on the main jet. And then whether you run a carburetor, which can act as your throttle plate, you just remove your choke, or you could leave your choke and you can completely bypass the rich start and just run straight choke from the carburetor, or you would run a traditional throttle body for a fuel injection vehicle. Now, what's great about this setup is just how dirt cheap it is. And my bad on that. So say we wanted to get a set of injectors. We go to one of the sites that I use, and the injector line that I'm using for my 1983 F-150 is a 2011 Ford Triton V8 set of injectors. 2010. I don't know why I said 20. It's whatever. We'll go to fuel air, and we'll go to fuel injector. They're about $20. They're cheap, plus shipping. So it's about $66 for my inline six. And right there's the first cost. And then we'll just look at the fuel pump, wherever that might be. So about $60. Or if we could find just the pump, which I'm not finding it, we'll just go to an older model year, 1987, which is a high pressure pump for the F series. We'll go for the big 6 that I have. Fuel pump, brute power. This one's the in tank, the low pressure pumps. I'm looking for the high pressure pump. Snow pump. There we go. High pressure pump right here. About $30. So now we're looking at about $90 for the system. And say we wanted to run a dirt cheap distributor for the fuel system. I believe it would be under ignition. Yeah, it is. So if we wanted a dirt cheap distributor, no core charge, we could get the TFI module. And you don't need the TFI. All we need to do is run this center lead right here with power just straight from the battery, along with a negative, which will be run from the key. So that way you're not, you don't have a hot wire inside the car. Everything is safe. And basically, this will spin around. It'll send power to each injector as it's spinning in the right firing order, and that will fire off your injection. And instead of having a drive gear right here, you will run a pulley that is, I believe it's it's 2 times the size of the crank pulley. So that way, for every 2 rotations of the crank pulley, you'll have a firing event of the injection system. That will allow your timing for your injectors. Very cheap. So we're sitting at about $140. We're dirt cheap by this point. And this is for a full-fledged fuel injection system. Now we'll go to the next part. We need the fuel rail. Let's see if we can find it on here. It might be an engine. I'm not sure. Let's see. Huh. It's funky. It's not here. Well, we'll go to eBay. So say you're running the Ford 300 like I am. We'll just find a cheap used Ford 300 inline 6 injector rail. And if we can actually find the darn thing. You have everything but the injector rail. Wow. I give it one more try. Wow. That's the air injection, possibly. Well, basically the train of thought is you grab the proper fuel rail for your engine. Your engine, if it's already electronically fuel injected, then you don't have to worry about this part. If it is not, you'll have to find your injector rail for your specific vehicle. I just don't understand why I'm not finding this. Yeah. It's just everything's missing. It's weird. Huh. Let's see. Well, I can't find anything for this motor, which is ridiculous. Shows you how uncommon this thing is. Well, one last place. Yep. Oh well, fuel injector rails usually run you like $40, so you're sitting at about, give or take, $180 already. Then you include your fuel lines, your resistor units, your variable resistors. You're running about $200 now. Still, very cheap, especially considering this does not use a computer at all. And if we go over to Summit, just for an example, we'll find the micro squirt. Well, I don't get why it would be just a transmission controller, but $500 right here for just a micro squirt with just the harness. So you're already getting a better deal with the fuel injection that I've come up with. Thank you for joining. I will give you an update later on. This is T-Bone, out.